Hello. We'll be tasting some lovely wines. We've got some Spanish wines, as we all should have been in Barcelona this week at Miba. It is Miba, isn't it? That's the one we should have been to. You know, I thought that was the one that I was told that was going to be amazing and so much fun, and everyone's going to get on. And it's going to be lots of parties, and Barcelona's amazing. So anyway, these things happen. So we've brought a bit of Spain to us, and we're going to try some Spanish wines from our Finca Tapas bar range, where we've put together, it's a concept whereby instead of, we can't go out for dinner anymore, we can't go to restaurants, so what we are thinking is let's make a selection of 3 wines that you would find classically in a specific restaurant and that would match up with the majority of the dishes. So we've got a Onshore, we've got a bistro one, we've got a steakhouse one, and this is the Spanish tapas bar. So these wines, we've selected 3 that will hopefully go nicely, well, I believe will go nicely with different foods from a tapas. So yeah, without further ado, I would like to introduce my special guest. Introduce yourself. Hello, Rosie.
Hi, hello, good evening. Introduce myself. So I used to work previously with Ed and Jess at Onshore, but prior to that I actually used to work for a company in the UK called Armit Wines, and we were the UK importer for Rioja Alta and all of the wines that we're trying tonight. So it's really nice to be able to have an opportunity to kind of to see what I remember, actually.
So these are technically old friends. They've been with you for a while. They are. Okay.
Yeah, I actually had one of, not the wines we're trying tonight, but another one of the wines from the range at my wedding as our red wine.
Okay, so first up, what are we trying?
So first of all, we're starting with Lagar de Cervera. So Lagar de Cervera is an Albariño, 100% Albariño. Rioja Alta is the traditional property of Rioja Alta is predominantly red wine, because Rioja as a region is classically red or very oaky white wines as a traditional style. When they decided they wanted to put a white wine in their range, they thought rather than do an oaky style of Rioja, they would actually buy a property in Rías Baixas, which is over northwestern Spain, just across the border from Porto. In like northern Portugal, so they're right on the Atlantic coast, and they tasted lots and lots of wines from throughout Spain, decided that was the style they wanted to go for, something really fresh and zesty and crisp. So they bought Lagar de Cervera. It's a beautiful property, it's absolutely stunning, and the unique thing about this region is you have all of the weather coming across the Atlantic, so all of that really bad, like wet, rainy weather coming in. So it's predominantly white, but also all of the grapes are harvested in a pergola, they're trellised in pergola system. So it's kind of like an archway, so that they're up high and you don't get any of that. Well, it reduces risk of mildew and other sort of problems. But it makes for a very beautiful vineyard situation. Very, very crisp, very fresh. I think if you like Sauvignon and you like crisp, acidic, sort of bright, fresh wines, this is definitely a wine for you.
Well, I was tasting it, and there's that minerality and freshness and stuff that just made me. If you like your northern French white wines from the Loire and stuff, you're gonna love this. It has that like lip smacking, beautiful kind of, just keeps going and going and going in your mouth for ages and ages. And I think what I found interesting about this in comparison to the others is you can tell the difference in the climate. You've got Rioja's where Rioja is, it's about an hour, 2 hours below San Sebastian Bilbao. If you just kind of drive down the motorway, you get into Rioja, where it's quite a bit warmer. And I've noticed in the summer and in the autumn, it's quite barren and like brown looking landscape. Where in Galicia, that bit above Portugal you mentioned is quite luscious and green. How does that affect this white wine, like that Atlantic influence that you've mentioned?
So the Atlantic influence, so you've got the cooling effect of the ocean. So you've got that real kind of freshness and the acidity. It's definitely not as hot as Rioja, as you said. So Rioja in the summer it can get really, really warm. And then very, very cold winters. Whereas this is it's a totally different climate. It's that sort of humid, sort of wet, less hot. So you have got this freshness, this acidity that you wouldn't get in a warmer climate, for sure. It's also got a little bit of that stone fruit, sort of pear skin character as well, which I love. And that comes from the Albariño grape itself.
And I actually got stone fruit and white fruits and things like that. That was what I
And
got,
white
was
flowers.
just like beautiful apricot and then a bit of white peach, just other stuff going on that I thought, I didn't use the word zesty, but I do completely agree. That is, I mean, it's delicious, isn't it? I think, but if you're in a bar, why would you be ordering this?
Interestingly, Albariño is now one of the most successful by the glass wines in the UK market, in terms of gastro pubs and restaurants and things. It's a brilliant wine on its own. It doesn't need food. It's something you can just order, have a glass of, enjoy, as long as it's cold. It's also really, really good. I mean, it's a great summer barbecue party wine. It's not expensive. They're always really reasonably priced. And actually, that's true of Spain in general. The wines are released onto the market when they're ready to drink. They're good value. But this, for me, is like, it's a great summer, easygoing wine, but brilliant with food. Like, really, really good with any shellfish. It's a gorgeous region, but it's not how do you say it? Like, it's not at all arrogant or anything like that. Very sort of down to earth region. And you go and sit in all of these little restaurants along a very rocky sort of coastline. And they have this delicacy, which are these barnacles that look like a sort of alien thing. Really, they're very kind of, they are totally bizarre looking, and they harvest them by hanging off the rocks, and when the waves go down, they quickly go down and grab them and then go back up again. And then so it's really like, it's obviously quite a dangerous thing to harvest, so they're a bit of a delicacy. So that's the kind of big pairing thing. And then sea urchins as well. But yeah, any prawns, any sort of fishy, garlicky thing would be great.
The way that they cook freshly caught fish, and they'll just grill it so simply. And there's a reason why you go. This is my mantra. This is what I believe in when I talk about matching food and wine. It's so simple. Just go with what the locals eat with their local wine, because this wine is designed around, like you just said, all that shellfish, all of that beautiful stuff, as well as.
It's totally that. And I mean, there are a few reds produced in the region, but it's not known for that. It's very much known for, and it is also one of those funny regions where there is a style made from one grape, and that's literally what they focus on. Very much like Picpoul and Picpoul de Pinet, and actually the styles of wine are quite similar, which is a southern French wine. But you go and have dinner and you have Albariño, and then you go afterwards to any bar and everyone's having those massive goldfish bowls of gin. So it's literally gin and tonic and Albariño, and that's like, you start with gin, you go on to Albariño, you finish with gin. That's kind of what it is.
It's the perfect night for everybody, clearly.
Great Spanish night.
Well, that's actually exactly how I described when I was talking about the Rioja region. Was like, you've got Logroño and you've got Haro, and in Logroño you've got those bars and you've got that street. And I remember, you spend hours going up that street, bar after bar, drinking glass after glass, and then you get around the corner and all of a sudden everyone's sat outside drinking gin and tonics. There's just like 1,000 people, late night GTs. And you're like, where's everyone gone? Oh, they're all here just getting pissed. It's brilliant. Exactly that. The goblins.
And the Spanish are brilliant at that. They're so good at the wining and dining, but also the sort of fun element of life. Like, they live. And I think it's very different. You go to Palma and you go to a place like that and you can have a holiday. And then you go to Rioja and it's really like, it's not people on holiday, it's just life, and they live life like that, and it's brilliant.
So, okay, what's the next wine?
The next one is Finca San Martin, which is a Crianza Rioja from a property called Torre de Oña. So the best way to explain Rioja Alta as a company is to sort of talk about their properties together, I suppose. So Rioja Alta was the original company. And there's also a region in Rioja called Rioja Alta, so that's a little bit confusing, but name and winery are the same. Torre de Oña is their property in Rioja Alavesa, which is a slightly different part of the Rioja region. Finca San Martin is their, I hate saying this, but it's their entry-level Rioja. So it's their Crianza Rioja. The other thing that's really interesting that they do at Torre de Oña, so as a region, Rioja is traditionally, it has to be oak-aged. But traditionally, everything was aged in American oak. And what they do at Torre de Oña is they've done lots of experiments with French oak and also Caucasian and Slovenian oak. And the difference is, so your classic Rioja takes a lot of those American flavors of kind of coconut and vanilla and slightly sweeter oak aromas, whereas French oak is a lot tighter and a lot, it's much more subtle. So this actually, as opposed to being 100% American, they've got some French oak in this as well. So it's Rioja, but it's kind of a modern style of Rioja. So you get this like kind of tightness to it. And you've got the vanilla and you've still got that oak coming through, and you've got the kind of you've got that black fruit and everything. And it's gorgeous, but you have got this kind of elegance of their style.
But you're saying the oak's important, right? Because the oak is what I think makes this region stand out. It's the fact that you're buying wine straight away to drink. You know, they're releasing most of the wines that you can enjoy. They're not saying, hey, we've aged this for a year. Now you pay a fortune for it and you have to keep it for a generation before you're actually able to drink it. We're saying we've done some of the aging for you. Like you say, with Rioja Alta, are leaving it for even longer than that's actually legally needed. I think that makes a difference. And
the aging makes a difference. The attention to like the care, the attention to detail. I mean, Rioja Alta still, they rack every single barrel by candlelight, which in sort of layman's terms, if you're aging your wine in barrel for any amount of time, what will happen over time is that you'll get sediment, for want of a better word, that will sink to the bottom of the barrel. Now over time, you will rack the wine off that and then put it into a fresh barrel and allow that to happen again. What Rioja Alta do is basically, and it's great to see it, and they have hundreds of thousands of oak barrels across all of their properties. So it's incredible they still do this by hand. But you basically, they turn the bung on a barrel onto its side, liquid comes out, there's a big trough underneath, and they hold a candle behind the red wine, and they hold the candle there, and as soon as they start to see bits in the liquid, they tip the barrel up, and then they move it on. And then the liquid that they've got in the trough underneath hasn't got that sediment in it. And then that goes into a fresh barrel. And that whole process as well allows for more of that oxygen kind of, of that aging process of oxygen and aerating the wine. But yeah, it's incredible. I mean, Rioja is one of the best value fine wines on the market when you're looking at Gran Reserva and, a top end Rioja. So to put it into context, the top wine from Rioja Alta, I would have to take a guess on the price, but I would imagine it's around €200 a bottle. About that. They only make it in the best vintages only, so it's made like 3 times in a decade. And it is outstanding. Like it scores nearly 100 points every time. They're brilliant. And it's only €200. And then you look at Bordeaux, and as you said, it's ready to drink when it's released. Then you look at Bordeaux and you can easily pay €200 a bottle, and then you've got to sit on it for 25 years and wait for it to get ready. So like what you get here is value, but you also get drinkability, and they have invested the time in aging it for you, and it's incredible.
Yeah, but we're not talking about the older ones here. We're talking about Crianza. We're talking about a younger, slightly fruitier, fresher one, which is why I think it goes with more things on your tapas menu. I think that it's a really accessible wine for a number of things. It's not just really intensely mature or what have you. It's not a joven, which is a really young fruity one, which, I mean, for me, I'm not surprised that you get a plate of jamon or some manchego with some membrillo, that little bit of quince jelly stuck on the top that tastes so good. That kind of thing will just make this wine even better, because I still can taste some dryness. I can still feel that little bit of tannin. It's not huge, but there's a little bit there. And I think a tiny bit of chorizo or a tiny bit of, I don't know, there's so many different dishes you can get in Spain that are amazing, oxtail and stuff with this wine. I think this is why I've selected it for this pack, is because it's a bit of an all-rounder. You can have it on its own, but you can eat it with loads of different dishes.
Like it's so versatile. And also the other thing about this, I think that's great, is you can have it on its own. Like you can have a glass of this, and it's a red, there are some red wines that you have to have food with, and this one's great with food, but if you just wanted to have a glass of it and relax, it's that. But then, yeah, you're right, it's got a little bit of spice, it's got a little bit, there's the tannins there. It could literally take anything. You could put a bit of spicy chorizo with it, you can have a bit of anchovy, patatas bravas with a bit of a kick, like a proper garlic thing it would stand up to.
Well, I've just had all of those things, and it does work. Yes, I've had chorizo, I've had cheese, and I've had some prawns as well, and that's that.
It's but do you know what the other thing about this, I think, as well, is it suits every. For me, this is a red wine that really works for every consumer. So you can be, you can be your collector and only be into fine wine, or you can be someone that doesn't ever drink wine. And this for me is like, it suits everything. It's got fruit, it's got structure, it's got accessibility, it's got interest, it's got the tannin and everything going on, and it's brilliant. And my God, is it good for the money? Like, it over delivers big time.
This is under €11 TTC.
Yeah, it's really good.
Which is a bargain, I think. Hence why I put it in, because it is the kind of wine that I'd buy a 6-pack of and just bring out as and when I've got a neighbour from downstairs who comes and sits on the terrace with us and stuff. Well, this is perfect. Just have a glass of wine without food, whatever. Or in fact, it actually works for Aperol as well. Just a glass of red. So
no, it really does. And actually, I think as a pair, the two we've just tried, the Albariño and the red, they are perfect for exactly what you just said. You order 6 of each, you have it in the house. It's just like, okay, great. We've got some people around. They're kind of like, they're everything that I think of when I think of Spain. They're those wines that bring people together. They're for groups of friends. They're for drinking. They're for tapas. They're for enjoyment. They're for now, and that's brilliant. I love Spanish wines, I have to say.
Yeah.
So I haven't had this Aster yet in my carafe.
Right, this is Ribera del Duero, which is near Palencia.
So the difference between Rioja and Ribera, so both of these are considered as sort of top tier production zones in Spain. Ribera del Duero is both Rioja and Ribera del Duero have height to their advantage, which actually allows for like a cooler temperature at night, which preserves freshness in the wine as well. But Ribera del Duero is actually on a plateau, and it's even higher than Rioja. So we're about 750 meters above sea level, whereas Rioja at the highest point is about 700. But Rioja,
God, you said that with so much confidence. The way you're like 750. I'm believing you. I'm buying into it completely. Sorry, carry on.
I saw this MW study. We really knew what we were doing. Rioja ranges from 300 to 700, and then Ribera is that bit higher at 750, I think. But what you've got here is a plateau, and it's everything's bush vine. So that's the kind of training system where it literally is like a little goblet on the floor. Some of Spain's most expensive wines come from this region. Rioja Alta again bought a property here called Bodegas Aster, and it's beautiful. And by the way, this is a little bit of a tourism plug, but you can go and stay at each of the properties. You can go and visit and do tours and things, but you can stay in them as well, and they're beautiful and well worth it. But so Bodegas Aster is their most recent, if I'm not mistaken, their most recent property that they bought, and it's in the middle of nowhere, and you just drive, and you're driving across this plateau, and you just go and you go and you go, and then suddenly you find this winery, and it's flat. You're up high, but it is flat. There's Rioja, you've got mountains, and you've got, it's totally different. And here it's literally flat, arid, it's totally different. But same grape variety as the last wine. So 100% Tempranillo on both of them. And this is just, I need to actually pour it because I've still got that one.
Well, to me, I think, whenever I think of the differences, I don't think of necessarily one being on a plateau, etc. But when I think of the difference, I always think of chocolate, and I think of darker richness. And this has that to me, comparatively to Rioja. And what I'm interested to find out from you is, how is it that you've got the same grape, 100% Tempranillo, and yet they taste, there are similarities. There's dark cherries and there's other fruit flavor like crossover, but there's a big difference in other flavors. So why is it that they are so different in taste?
First of all, we've got different training systems. So in Rioja, everything's kind of classically trained, as you would see when you normally go through a vineyard. You know, you've kind of got vines going along wires. Here, you've got old vine, bush vine. So very different training system, old vines that give a different expression of the same fruit, different climate in a sense as well. But also this has had even more French oak than the Rioja, which has had more American. So they really have utilized French oak here. So this is like also, and I'm not saying that the Finca San Martin isn't, by the way, but this is very much all guns blazing, top end winemaking. Everything here is just like new barrels, expensive. They're chucking everything at it. And for me, this has got a real, it's, as you said, it's plush, it's velvety, but it's much more dark fruit, whereas there was kind of some red fruit coming through on the Rioja. This is kind of like got that sultry hedonistic. It's quite a sexy wine, this one, I think. Like it's
Love the word plush. You're quite right. Plush.
It is plush.
I think it's luxurious and so super smooth and just rich and in your face and it's luxury. Whereas the other one's all day, every evening drinking. This seems a little bit more serious, a little bit more, you know. But maybe that's because I'm also having cheese with it, which might. But
also the expression of terroir on this is so, you know, it's got this real. The tannins are incredibly fine. They're incredibly. You've got these beautiful chalky tannins, but then you've also got this real minerality to this wine. Like it has, and this to me has layers and texture and complexity that's like way beyond price point again. For me, the Finca San Martin is delicious and great and fun, and it's your everyday have a glass of it on its own kind of, or have it with food, and it's brilliant. This for me is that a little bit more like, you know, put it in a decanter, have it, make it a bit more of a special wine, have it with something that you. This with lamb, by the way.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes.
This like slow cooked lamb.
My sister-in-law, she'll probably kill me for the fact that I've already absolutely butchered her wonderful language because she's from Zaragoza. Yeah, she's from Zaragoza. And now my brother speaks fluent Spanish as well. And between them, they know how bad I am at it. So I apologize to them now. I'm sorry. But she cooks this amazing, or her mother cooks this amazing spring lamb. Like so slow cooked with these tiny little roasty potatoes with garlic underneath.
That's what it needs.
Oh, well, and then you have it with this wine and it's just, heaven. Absolutely heaven.
If you go and visit the winery here, they will always serve you this with lamb. And one of the things that they do, which I love, is they take all the old vine cuttings and they basically build a fire with them in like a grate, obviously not just randomly, but build a fire, and then they do lamb chops over the top of vine cutting, which is pretty special too. And Rioja really goes well with lamb too. But I think this for me has just got that kind of that plushness that it's just a bit more serious as the style.
I think this is also for richer dishes compared to the Rioja, which will stand up to a lot. I think you need a bit more flavor, a little bit more character.
Yeah. And I also think that this is more. So I actually had a bottle of this in the fridge, and
when you say fridge, you mean the wine fridge?
Yeah.
Just to be clear, people, this is not 6 degrees in a fridge. Okay.
No. And my neighbour, who's French, was bringing, you know, she was taking her dog out as I was taking my dog in the other day. And we said, should we just have a drink in the garden, like a different end of the garden? And I said, yeah, sure. She said, I've run out of wine. I said, don't worry, I've got wine. What do you want? She said, something red. And I went, okay, cool. And I deliberately took her something Spanish because she's French. And I kind of opened it and I gave it to her and she went, oh, Spanish. I was like, yeah, it's Spanish wine. And then she drank it and she went, and you could just see she really didn't want to. And she kind of went, oh, that's really good. Yeah, it's really good. But it is, and actually we had it without food, and it is, just tasting it now, again, it is a food wine for sure.
Actually sitting down as well. It's not quite, I think it's more than just a stand up drinking glass of red. I think this is a sit down. Like I class it as a contemplation type wine, where you've got to consider it, you've got to think about it a bit and enjoy it with good company and etc. and all of the other things that you get when you are sat down. You're not just drinking, you're really concentrating.
You think about it. And I think the other thing about this is, so the Finca Saint-Martin opened, and I would say just drink it straight away. This has been decanted by Jess when she brought it up. And actually, this is a wine you want to chuck in a decanter, because it's tasting so good for having had that time, you know, to open up. Whereas that Crianza has got better as I've gone down the bottle, but probably didn't need the decanter. Whereas this actually kind of deserves a bit more of a ceremony about it, I think.
Okay, so what you're saying is that I selected 3 wines that work for a tapas menu.
Yeah, because you can do your, like, almost like your aperitif, whatever they call that in Spain. You have your glass of white and you can have some sort of light stuff with it. You move on to the Finca Saint-Martin, you have a bit more of the kind of, you know, the chorizo, the snack, you know, cheese, and all the rest of it. And then you could go on to like a proper kind of lamb or meat dish with this, which would be really good.
Then you just need some Spanish brandy and you're sorted, right? Some hardcore, strong Spanish brandy.
And then you go on to gin and tonics.
Yes, the gin and tonics, the giant gin and tonics. Yes, absolutely. I love them. Favorite gin?
My favorite gin?
Yeah.
Tell you what I really like is Salcombe gin. Having done that a bit onshore, that I really rate that gin. I think it's great.
I was lucky enough to date a lovely Spanish heritage lady, and her dad introduced me to Mallorca rum. This is called Mahon. Sorry, not rum.
Yeah.
Mahon gin
Mahon
with
gin.
the yellow label, and
Yeah.
it was like a revelation. And they open up. Oh yeah, it is strong. Yeah. I like that. They open up their cupboard and they're like, yeah, this is what we fly back with whenever we go and see our mother, like the grandmother and stuff. Is they each bring a 6-pack of gin back with them in their luggage. It's ridiculous. Yeah,
dangerous. Because I really got into it when I was there actually, and they properly give you that in the fishbowl, don't they?
Oh yeah, free pour, just all in, balls deep, fuckloads of gin, a little bit of ice, and away you go. No, yeah, that's the way it should be. Anyway, I've completely gone off topic. Thank you very much for staying up so late with me. Thank you so much for being committed to drinking wine with me and to tasting some cool stuff. And
that's cool.
I think discovering why, like, there is a reason behind this. This is the kind of quintessential classic wines that you would find in a tapas, in a Mediterranean, Spanish restaurant, in a bar. I think you'd find the Rioja in a bar as well as a restaurant. You'd find the Ribera as your more expensive one, and your glass of white. Like you say, this is done for a reason. I absolutely love Spain. I love going to Spain. It's one of my favorite countries there are. And so I think, thank you so much, Rosie, for giving me all your wonderful knowledge and information about these wines. Thank you.
Not at all. That was brilliant. I love all of these wines, and I really recommend them. They're brilliant, and they're such good value for money. Like, not just saying that, but I think they over deliver every single one of them.
Yeah, I used to work for them, kind of thing, though, didn't you? You're good friends with them, so you have to say that, right?
I mean, to be honest, I kind of don't have to at the same time. Like, I've always loved them. Enough to have one of them at my wedding. So yeah, they're really good.